Hello YouTube, new day in the shop. I need to figure out what we need to do today. And top priority is mailing out a box. So I have this one here, modern, engraved it last night. So that needs to be shipped out today. Also, we have to rebuild the box of the one client, which the Postal Service completely destroyed. Essentially looks like this. So it's a giant walnut box, about 22, 23 inches long. I need to look at the specs on that, but we need to make sure we have enough walnut, and it has a giant brass inlay into it, which means I need to look at my brass supply and see if I have enough of that. If I don't, then place in some orders. I made this little jewelry box, and or you could say it's a spice box too. I made sure I finished it with like natural finishes so you could put food in it. But just a nice little box, and I have a figured walnut lid in it, and the customer wants to engrave this. Well, the problem with having something that you've already made, already finished, and then you engrave it is if I mess up, I gotta try to figure out a figured walnut lid and remake the things. So what I'm gonna do is I found some walnut that's about the same thickness. So I'm gonna throw it in here and do a quick test because it'll probably take maybe 2 minutes at most to engrave this thing. So I'm gonna throw this in here, practice it on this first, see how the settings are, the alignment is and everything, and then I'll actually put the real lid in there. Seems pretty good. Take the tape off. It's a really fine font. So what I worried about was that you wouldn't really be able to see it on the box itself. But let's see here. Yeah, not too bad. So I'll double check the size of it and we should be good to go. I think it turned out just how we wanted it. Again. Not too bad. I'm just wiping it off with some mineral spirits. Make sure the dust is off, but also to get any of the residue from the tape that I put on it. Try to get all that stuff off. Usually I would use denatured alcohol because that works really well with getting the burning residue off something, but I use shellac when I finish this. And if you put DNA on shellac, even if shellac dry, it will start to dissolve it and make it gummy. So little mineral spirits should work. And then I will put a little bit of oil and wax on it just to kind of give it a little bit of a pop. And then this will be good to go. I still have to engrave the bigger box, but the customer has to look at that proof and make sure he likes it first. And then if he does, we will engrave that one and get that out. So that probably won't get engraved today, maybe the next day or two. This is walnut with a stainless steel handle to it. Beautiful. And it's a beautiful occasion. This is going to be for an engagement. So congratulations. I have a 10-foot piece of walnut, and I think that I should be able to get all my parts out of that. And on the surface, it seems kind of crazy, like 10 feet of walnut, you should be able to build a box out of that. But there's a sneaky amount of wood in this. We're looking at a box that's about 21 by 14. And then you start that at the bottom and then the lid, which means we're gonna have to have a couple glue ups. So when you start putting all this together and you go, okay, here's a section that's part of the lid, and then here's another part of the lid, and you're looking at 2 feet at a time, you could easily eat up this entire board. So I think I can get out of this board and then maybe a little bit out of this one too. I don't know, we'll see. I think what I'll probably do is I'll start with making the bottom, cutting up the side so I can get all of that structure together. And then we'll see if I have wood left over to do the lid. And if not, I can always cut up a slab or something. I was just trying to get it out of the dimensional lumber because cutting up slabs just takes up a lot of time. I think I'm gonna start with the bottom first because I gotta glue up the bottom so that it can dry. That way it's already ready to go and sanded whenever I do the sides of it. So I think I'm gonna start with this little piece here. And I say little, but it's about 3 feet long. So I can cut off an end of it. That chunk might get used for something else. And then I'm thinking I'll resaw this. So if I do that, I should be able to get 4 boards out of this. So if I cut it and then resaw it, we'll get about a 1/2 inch thick bottom, which is pretty thick for a bottom of a box. And I'll have 1 extra piece left over. I don't know, we'll see what I do with that. So first step is, I need to mill this. What I like to do is I'm gonna join it, plane the other side, then go over to the bandsaw, rip it in half, then I'll cut my pieces to a rough size and then glue them up. Oh, I need to cut this at a miter saw, and I haven't shown you my ultimate miter saw station, so let's go. I want to rip this in half, so I need to measure wherever my center line is. Well, I don't really like to measure. Instead, I'll just mark, and then mark on the other side. And then whatever that difference is, that gap in the middle, I'll put my square up to that. And that should be the middle. My saw's pretty close already. I was getting these pieces together and I realized that I'm going to be just a tad short width-wise. So what I did was I trimmed the center section just a bit, and then I grabbed a couple offcuts that I was actually going to use for a cutting board and cut 2 of them so I can sandwich this together. And that's going to give it a symmetrical look, and the grain pretty much blends in. Like, they look like they're from the same board when really they're not. So that's going to work out for me. I'm going to mark this with my triangle, joint each edge, and then glue it up. Then tomorrow we'll have a bottom panel so that we can do the sides. It's time for glue up, and my boards are a little bit thinner than what a normal 1-inch board would be, so there's a possibility for some flexing whenever we go to clamp this up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a lot of cauls for this, just to make sure that my panel is as flat as possible before we move on to the next step. I am using hide glue for this, and I like to use hide glue, especially when I'm working with walnut, because it's dark and seams become invisible. If you miss a spot sanding with hide glue, it won't be as glaring as, let's say, you're using regular glue. I will typically use hide glue for my glue ups unless I'm doing miters, because when it comes to miters, it just sucks up the glue. So I like to use something with a little bit more grab to it. So I'll go to like a Type-On 3. Type-On's Quick and Thick is really good for that, though I find it to be kind of a pain in the butt when it comes to cleaning it up and sanding it away. hide glue also has a long open time. So pretty good. I don't know that there's any glue that has a longer open time than hide glue. I'll have to look that up. I know epoxy does, but that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I'm talking about wood glues. I think people tend to over clamp when it comes to the pressure they put on it. If you've got to clamp it that hard, then it's probably not that good of a joint. So we just need enough for some squeeze out. Hey, I think we got a decent amount of stuff done today, and we're on the right track for finishing up on that project. Please like and subscribe to this video and share it with a friend if you think they might enjoy this sort of content. I try to put out videos as frequently as possible. And until we meet again, get in your shop and build something awesome.